Right, welcome to episode 3 of the D5 Football Podcast. This week we're joined by Shaun Donnellan of Maidenhead. Going to be having a chat with his about his career, starting at West Brom, going through League One, League Two, National League, and looking forward to the rest of this season. We've already started a bit. So first thing, as we always start, is asking how you got into football.
How I got into football just as a little kid, really. I think it's quite cliche. I think my dad had a professional career. My uncle had a professional career. So it was in the blood, really. Just always played football. Played Sunday league football, to be honest, until I was 14. School football, Sunday league school football. I loved it. Loved playing with my mates. My dad and mum never forced me into it. They said if you're good enough at 16, then you can go pursue it, but they were more focused on my education, really. But that's how I got into football, just playing Sunday league and school football.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I sort of saw in my research is there's a bit of a family sort of tradition there. Is that you said they weren't really forcing it on you, but that's always, imagine, sort of back of your mind that's sort of around there might be a bit of sort of pressure on you almost, even if they're not saying.
Yeah, I'd say so. I was always pretty good at Sunday league and school football, and then I got scouted for a few teams, and then lucky enough I got in and got a professional contract, and then that's when I kind of took it seriously. I think before that I was just enjoying it, playing with my mates and school football. Some of my best memories of football was playing with your mates on a Sunday or playing for your school football team. So that was really important to me. That
was that when you said that's when you started taking it seriously. Was that when you sort of realised, all right, you said like you got your education and stuff like that. Is that when you sort of realised, all right, this could be a career then, even if it's not as high as sort of your family?
Yeah, I always wanted to do it, but my dad was quite strict in the sense, just enjoy your football first. And when you're 15, 16, if you've got potential, then you can go to an academy. Because I did get scouted for a few teams. But he didn't want me to be in that environment where everything's football. You're in a bubble. So it was. I kind of got pushed into it later than most kids do. But I obviously had that training from when I was young. I was always practicing down the park with my dad and my two brothers. So I probably had a different type of football education compared to most lads. But I think it benefited me mentally in the long run.
Do you think that's something that helped you? Because it's something that gets said a lot, that you get some of these where these clubs are scouting like 5 and 6 year olds and stuff like that, and that's all they never have the sort of, if you like, rough football where they're playing at the park with the mates or anything like that. It's always done as if they are the £100 million player from like 10 years old or something like that. So do you think that sort of thing where it was very rough for you until 16 and then you moved on to something a bit better that
I think it's madness. Like you're young kids, you're 5, 6. There's kids 5, 6 going into academies. Why? Tell me what are they benefiting? What, professional coaching? Come on, go enjoy. Have a kickabout with your mates down the park. Go enjoy your school football, Sunday league football, where there's no pressure. There's no at 5, 6 years of age, if I get released, the kid's going to be in bits. That could knock his confidence. Why would you? In my opinion, I wouldn't want my kids to go through that age. Go enjoy yourself. Go play with your mates, and then practice. And if you're good enough at 14, 15, 16, then take it a bit more seriously. But 5, 6, come on. I think that's crazy.
Yeah. That's something I saw as well, is you got those, you know, well, I was never any good at football. You always heard that sort of, he's in City's academy and stuff like that. And then there's always, at that age, it sounds like, he's in City's academy. But now I look back at and stuff, and none of them have ever gone on to anything, but it's the ones who get into it perhaps a bit, something like 15, 16, 17, where they actually like, they might actually have an half decent chance of getting at it. So that's just sort of how you progress at that age.
It means nothing at that age. When you're 15, 16, 17, I say 16, 17, that's when it matters, not when you're 5, 6. So yeah, that's my opinion on it.
That's something I've seen, like I said, from asking people who've had it previously, is that type of thing where they weren't always the best at 10, 11, 12. But then once they got to 15, 16, then everyone had sort of in maturing wise and building up to all sort of all sort of matured with puberty and stuff like that, that's when they were all a level playing field, and that's when they went on. That's what something Elliot Javel was talking about, is that he weren't that good until 15, 16, but then that's when he caught up with everyone else, because he's saying he's a bit short, and then went on quite well.
Yeah.
So West Brom, that's when you joined then and got involved with them. So, like you said, you had offers, but those you decided to accept West Brom. What was your sort of thinking behind that?
To be honest, I only got offered a scholarship at previous teams, but I got offered a 2-year scholar and a 1-year pro at West Brom. So it was a no-brainer, really. It was just, they offered me a pro, and I really enjoyed the environment when I was up there. I was going up there Tuesday, Thursdays after school, just getting the train up there, training in the evenings and coming back. But I just thought the whole environment of the football club was brilliant, really. So that's what made my decision on just the environment, the coaches. I thought it was just a really nice place to play football.
And you never got involved with any sort of first team, but you did get EFL trophy, which would be now the under 21s or the 23s, I think. And that was the first season that got brought in, wouldn't it? I think.
Yeah,
when you
I think
were involved.
So.
Yeah, one of the first seasons.
Yeah.
You got involved with them, and while obviously weren't first team, which you would have obviously wanted, still having that sort of experience even in those games. And I imagine there would have been a few of the sort of older players coming back from injury stuff like that who were part of the. I think there are 3 players that have allowed something of the overage players, so you're getting involved with that, but you're also playing against other League 1 and League 2 teams. So that was sort of your experience. What was that like for sort of your first time doing that?
It was brilliant. I think playing with them type of players that have played in the Premier League, coming to drop down, it's just it probably makes you play better, because you want to impress them really when you're playing with them. And obviously sometimes they bother it off because they don't want to get an injury. They're coming back from injury. But I remember, I think it was a game Chris Brunt played in it, and he was just so professional and just set the standards really. And I just thought he was a proper professional. I think by doing that, the younger players looked up to that. I thought, that's the way to be. Because when players from the first team dropped down and they bobbed it off, it was like, it's not a very good attitude. But when first team players dropped down and took it seriously, it was really nice, and it was a joy to play with them.
And then you had a loan spell at Worcester City. Now, from having a look, and this is a bit of a spoiler for sort of future, but you scored quite a few goals compared to sort of you did in the future, because the numbers here I've got are 4 in 16. So, first question is sort of what was the reason for the sort of spike in goals, especially considering you were more defensive player, not like a striker or anything like
that? Different position. I played midfield at Worcester, and then all my other loans I played a centre half. So that was the difference. I played midfield at Worcester, and then all my other loans I played as a centre half.
And I think that's something, having a look, I mean, you don't score many goals, but from what I've seen, the ones you do score are sort of worldies or flukes or something like that. Is that, would that be right?
Yeah, I'd say that as well. Yeah.
So one I saw was like some sort of long range, sort of going in, and a few for Woking was another fluke deflection, and another was like a nice little curl and stuff like that. Which not bad for someone who's playing more sort of defensive type of thing, not compared to a striker. But Worcester, that would have been not National League, but conference, the regional ones. So what was that like, sort of pitting yourself, rather than the EFL trophy where it's only 3 games and it's sporadic? That was a sort of, even if it's only half a season, it's a nice little run out of games in a more consistent sort of environment compared to youth football.
To be honest, mate, I was playing for Worcester on the Saturday and Tuesday, and then playing for West Brom reserves whenever they had a game. So I was playing 3 times a week, and I think nowadays that would never happen with academy football. I just wanted to get out and play proper men's football. I know West Brom see me as a centre back at the time. I went to Worcester and they needed a midfield player, and I kind of just took to that position, and I really done well. And then I come back to West Brom, and then I started playing midfield. And then funny enough, all my other loans I went as a centre back, and I just don't really enjoy that position, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask later, but I might as well ask now. I've got some rough numbers. There is this bit of, from what I can see, this difference between sometimes you're playing centre back and sometimes you're playing centre mid. And you said you don't,
Yeah.
So what is it then? What do you say, centre back or midfielder?
Well, the last 2 seasons, I played every game midfield,
Mm.
apart from a few games where I needed to play right back. But I haven't played centre back for 2 seasons now, and I'm buzzing about that.
Is that that's what you see yourself going forward then? Not going forward, you don't envision yourself being this sort of. Because sometimes you get with players where they're not very good at one position, but they're sort of one of these where they can play 4 or 5 positions. But you see yourself, you want to nail down that one position now going
I can
forward.
play 45, but I think I have nailed down the centre mid that I played the majority of the games last season, and played every single game this season. So yeah, no, that is my position. I'm more natural there, and yeah. But if like I said, like I did on Saturday, there was a few injuries, and the gaffer said, "Can you do a job for me at the back?" And I was like, "Yeah, Sam." So
I guess it's
yeah,
not bad then. To have that in
no,
your locker to sort of be like,
yeah,
well, I played here, so I've got, it's always good to, especially if you're sort of looking to move or anything like that, sort of on your CV type of thing.
yeah.
So you had those games at Worcester, and then a loan to Stevenage, but didn't get really an opportunity.
Yeah, I was only there I think I was there for a month during pre-season. Then I come back. I was only, yeah, I wasn't. I think one of the first times I went down there, they didn't really know who I was and what position I played and all that. So I wasn't really there. I was just there to make up the numbers, really.
Is that a bit disheartening type of thing where it's that you sort of, you're only there to make up the numbers and it's not really that they're actually looking at you?
I think it's part of football, really. I think I was young, a bit naive as well. Yeah, I wasn't patient enough. Probably looking back, I should have waited and been a bit more patient. But at the age, I just wanted to play, and I felt I was good enough to play. And I was like, yeah, I didn't really get an opportunity in pre-season, and I thought, what's the point of me being here? So I just went back to West Brom, played, and then I went on loan again in January.
Yeah, and that was to Dagenham and Redbridge, which
Yeah,
dropped down a league from where Stevenage were at the time.
yeah,
And that's where you actually got playing, which I guess is always good. You want to be playing to sort of build up your skills and sort of get experience and stuff like that.
yeah.
I mean, look, you're up near top of the league for most of the season for when you was there.
Yeah.
Which does that make it a bit? And that's always a bit. You're coming into that type of thing that you've always going to be a bit. Well, am I going to be mess up the system or sort of be sort of
No, to be
how do you
fair,
say it?
when I joined, I think I know what you're trying to say. When I joined, they hadn't won for quite a few games, and then I joined on loan, and yeah, I think we won 5 on the bounce, and then we had a bit of a dip, and then we played Lincoln. It was a big game. We played Lincoln, first few seconds, I think it was, and whoever won that game, I think was going to go up, and then Lincoln beat us. I think it was 1-0 or 2-0. And then, yeah, they won the league, and then we played in the playoffs.
And that was the season. I think they had a nice little Lincoln as an FA Cup run. So did they play against? I want to say, did they beat someone like Ipswich or something like that? And they got to the
Yeah,
quarterfinals against Arsenal or something like that. So that's sort of, I guess, that helps them as well. The momentum of beating those types of teams to go on and win the league and stuff like that. And
well,
like I
they
said,
call it, to be fair.
and well, they've gone on to do quite good things now, which is always good for you in the National League if you're looking to get up. And you mentioned they got playoffs first, and that was against Forest Green, which you lost, but taste of playoffs must have been good.
Yeah, it was brilliant. We had a good team. We probably had a few injuries in that game, and a few players weren't fit. They were coming back. They were probably rushed back for that game. And we had a really good team. We probably underachieved a little bit. We should have, at least, I felt, we were in the league, but I think we beat Forest Green twice. And obviously we lost when it mattered in the second leg. So that was a bit disappointing, yeah.
And then obviously still on loan, but you got to move to Walsall on loan for the following season.
Yeah.
That's a step up 2 leagues to League One, and your debut was against Oldham.
Yeah. No, that was bit of a bit cliche. It was a really proud moment for me to make my Football League debut for a club which is a really good club really big fan base and great facilities and all that. Was in and out of the team. Again, I was probably a bit young, a bit naive when it comes to dealing with managers dropping me. I was probably a bit too emotional about it. Didn't deal with things in the best way at that time, playing centre half. Again, it's just as you grow up, you become more experienced. And if I could do it again, I'd do it differently in the way I managed myself and the way I managed my emotions at the time.
Your debut, like I said, was against Oldham. That's you won that game, and right in saying you got the assist in the last minute, a header or something, wasn't it? From what I remember.
Yeah.
And the finish was a bit. Listen, all I'll say is the keeper should have done better. I think he sort of went wrong way and went a bit wrong. But
yeah,
I mean that must be. Oh, you would have wanted to score, of course, but for an assist, I imagine that would be. I can't remember his name. He's the fella who's gone to. He went to Bolton. Oh, that's him. Went to Bolton after that. What was he like as a player? Or you wouldn't had much of a connection, but
he was quality and he was a top lad as well. To be fair, all the lads were. There wasn't no bad eggs. They were really good bunch of lads, and there was some really talented players there as well.
Like I said, you then left. How'd you spell at Walsall? When you said if you had your time again, you would have done things differently, like a bit like Stevenage. You said in terms of dealing with being dropped and stuff like that. Is that what you're sort of saying?
Yeah, I think throughout when I was at West Brom and when I went to Dagenham, I was a first team regular, and I was seen as a first team regular. But then when I made the loan step to Walsall, I wasn't a first team regular. I was in and out of the team, and I found that difficult, and I didn't like it. And looking back, I was a young lad playing in League One. I should have just took it on the chin, grafted my way back into the team, and took my opportunities when it come. Because I played some real good games at Walsall, but I also played some poor games. So it was a big learning curve. But again, I think it was just a bit of naivety from me and how I dealt with certain situations.
And then you got your move to Yeovil, and that would be you left West Brom then. So it's different between it's a loan sort of move and stuff like that. Now you got your move to Yeovil, and they were. I think this is sort of well documented. They were on a downward spiral during that sort of period and sort of not being too well. And I think would have been down near the bottom of the league, roughly.
When I first joined,
mid-table.
No, we were near the bottom of the league when I first joined, and we managed to stay up that year, if I remember correctly.
So what was it? Because what's the mentality like? Because I guess when you're on loan, it's sort of like, well, I'm here for 6 months or a year or whatever, but this is permanent. So if you don't live up to that, then you're a free agent compared to going back to West Brom, or I can go back to sort of youth football. Does that sort of affect how you're playing and sort of decisions for what you do?
Again, it was just one of them. I was fed up of going on loan, first of all. I wanted to be settled somewhere. Yeovil offered me the best opportunity to do that at the time. I rushed it. It was the first thing that came on the table. I was like, "Yep, let's do it." Still had another, I can't remember, 6-7 months left of my contract at West Brom, which I looking back, I should have stayed. But I wanted to go out and play first team football straight away. I didn't want to mess about. And then when I joined Yeovil, I really enjoyed myself for the first year, I think it was, or first 6 months. I can't remember. I think it was a year. And then the club just turned a bit sour, to be honest, after that.
Would it be right in saying, so you played a bit in the second half of that season, then the first half of that season, that's where you went to Maidstone, and that season you were there. That would have been the season that they went down. And obviously now you weren't playing when they actually got relegated, but the first half of the season, it's fair to say they still weren't that good. So what was you were playing during that? How was that?
So during pre-season and the first couple of games of the season, I was playing really well. Obviously the back end, when we stayed up the first year, I was the regular, and I was one of the first names on the team sheet. Then I had a couple little niggly injuries, and then I didn't get back in. I couldn't get in the team for a couple of weeks, and then once I did, I had a bit of a bad spell. I'd say for 2-3 weeks where I wasn't fully match fit. I'd missed a bit of the season, and I struggled for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. Then I had a good spell. I think I played a couple of games. I'd done really well, and then I think I played on the Saturday, and on the Sunday, the gaffer who me and him clashed big time with, just wanted me out really, and I said, yeah, sound, I'll go. But I did enjoy the football club. It was a good football club, just wasn't very well managed at the time.
What do you think of sort of where Yeovil are now? Because I know they're relegated to the National League, obviously, and trying to get back up, lost in the playoffs last season. What do you think? Sort of, do you think it's realistic for them to get back up this season from what you've seen?
Look, anything's possible. They're a really big football club for the level they're playing at. They've got a great fan base. It's a good catchment area. They've got everything going for them. They're just obviously they've had a bit of a slow start this season, but I wish that football club all the best. There's some really good people that work down there, and I haven't got a bad word to say about the actual football club.
And that's when you went to Maidstone, obviously. Another relegation battle. If it's not having some good luck, but with a bad spell here for Maidstone.
Yeah, it was a bit of that was just John Still rang me up and said, could I come and help? Obviously, he was my manager at Dagenham. So could I come help him out for? I can't remember how many. I think there was only a couple months left of the season, and I was like, "Yeah, Sam." But as soon as I got there, it was just carnage. Everything. It's just another. I've been at 2 clubs where it was just. It's hard to describe when a club is struggling behind the scenes. It really does take a big effect on the players. And I was in 2 clubs at that stage in the space of 6 months where it was just carnage behind the scenes. But again, it's another fantastic football club that's got such a big fan base, and just needed a bit of guidance really. And I think Maidstone have done that now under John Still and Hacken. I think they've steadied the ship a bit.
I think it's one of them, like the Gillingham of a big club down there, and sort of a bit of a derby. And they used to be quite good, but then they have all these problems and stuff like that. So, like we said, it'd be good to see them get back up and sort of compete with Gillingham and stuff like that. But it's not what you want really. How does that affect you? Because obviously, when you're playing, you know when you're playing well. You might get stick from the manager and perhaps players on and fans, but you know when you're playing well and you're not playing well. But I can't. It must be a bit annoying that how you're playing, but if the team isn't as good, and like I said, you're talking about 2 relegation battles and stuff with the club and stuff like that, it's not good for you, is it? Would you say?
To be fair, it's not nice. No one wants to be part of that. That was probably the toughest part of my career so far. I've always had quite good success. I've never been in a relegation battle, playoffs, and then to be in 2 clubs that were in a relegation battle, it was just, and especially Yeovil. That team should never have went down. There's far too many talented players, far too many. So yeah, it was a crazy 6 months of my career. That crazy.
And then obviously, you sort of spoke about them, but Woking. So, like I said, so you left. You had was it mutual consent at Yeovil, and then obviously end of loan spell at Maidstone, and then you moved to Woking. So, what were you sort of thinking about the move to Woking? Is it again just sort of you wanting to play football in sort of an happy environment?
Yeah, like I said, I always felt I played my best football playing midfield. That was at Worcester, and when I was at West Brom playing in midfield. So I made the conscious effort. I wanted to go there and play centre mid. I had a few offers to play centre half, but I didn't take them. I thought, you know what, let me knuckle down, let me back myself. People are like, oh no, you're not as good as centre back. You're better as a centre back than you are centre mid. Honestly, you don't know. Some people thought, like, you don't even know what you're talking about, mate. Yeah, but you ain't got a Scooby Doo. If you think that, you ain't got a clue about football. as soon as I've done that, I've had a really good season last season under Alan Dowson, who is a brilliant manager, brilliant football club, and yeah, same with working with another Alan Devonshire at Maidenhead, another really good manager, really good football club with good people. So that's joy to. I've had a really enjoyable year, 2 years.
So we spoke a bit about your goals, but I want to speak on for Woking. So from what my research, first was against Harrogate, and that would have been if I remember correctly, the fluky one that went off one of their defenders and lopped over him. Oh,
a top corner, mate.
Yeah.
No, that was a fluky goal, but yeah, no, that was just one of them. Got the ball turned on my left foot, had a dig, got deflection, and lucky enough it went in. I'll take him.
And then second one, and I'll take this, and shout out to the Woking media team for the stuff they do with all the different angles, because this, I think, captured it best with the different angle stuff like that, where they went in. And it sort of shocked me for saying someone who centre half previously and centre mid, it looked like something a striker would do, where you went in perfect curl off your left foot. It looks like, honestly, if you told me you were a striker, I would have thought that. So it's something where I think it gives into that sort of thing where you don't screw off, but when you do, the world is and stuff like that.
It's like lots of my goals at Worcester were like quite bendy, curly shots. So yeah, that was a good moment for me. So I was getting a lot of stick from the Yeovil fans, and I was a bit surprised by it, to be honest. But yeah, no, when that goal went in, I was just made up.
That sort of Woking season, then I would say probably your first. Obviously, the season got ended. Lots of sort of stoppages and stuff like that with the season. And obviously, we all know about that. But I'd be right, that's probably your first sort of what you might call first full season, where you could say that's near enough sort of full season where you're playing, rather than a 4 month spell, 5 month spell type of thing.
Yeah, I'd say obviously I was a regular at Dagenham, regular at Worcester, but to have an actual full season playing, obviously we missed 10 games left of the season, but other than that, I had 30 odd games under my belt and playing week in, week out in the position I felt was best. I proved to everyone that was my best position, because proof is in the stats. So I stayed in the team, I've done well. Results, we were high up in the table for most of the season. We were 1 point off the playoffs, I think, playing. Well, I think we had a game in hand. So yeah, that was a fantastic season last season with a brilliant football club and a really well managed staff and team.
Then obviously you left Woking and moved to Maidenhead. So you could play at Woking. So some people might have said, "Oh, you should have stayed there if you're playing," but you moved to Maidenhead.
Yeah, no, it was a tough decision to leave, to be honest, because me and the gaff down there, we had an open and honest conversation. But obviously, with football contracts and that, obviously it's negotiation half the time. Then I got offered a 2-year deal when I knew Alan Devonshire was a really high regarded manager, and obviously the football club's building a new state of the art stadium. It's quite close to me where I live. Yeah, and just speaking to Alan Devonshire, just obviously made up my mind really. And yeah, we had a tough start to the season, but we've done really well. I think we won 4 on the bounce now, so we're doing all right.
Like you said about new stadium there, and I'll be right in saying, if I remember correctly, that's it's like the oldest stadium that's been in continuous use or something like that. I think, is it something? I don't know the exact numbers, but it's something like 130 years or something like that in terms of being continuous use. I don't think they'd get. I don't know. They're building a new one somewhere else or redeveloping it. Cause I don't think they'd get rid of that. I won't get rid of that if it's got that type of record on it.
I think they're building it somewhere else.
Oh, so.
But yeah, it is a very old stadium. Yeah.
Hopefully they keep. Hopefully I like those types of things. These little sort of records. So hopefully someone else gets to use it, so they keep that record going.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's not up to me, is it? So obviously we've only played a few games so far in this season, and things are still going underway and sort of getting used to sort of a bit of a different environment, if you want to call it. But pending this season, because we don't know what might happen if stuff gets called off or postponed or whatever. what do you think is sort of realistic for you to achieve this season?
Honestly, in this league, you never know.
Mm.
You never know in this league. This league, everyone beats everyone. I think it's important to go on runs in this league to pick up 3-4 wins on the bounce. There's no point drawing games in this league. It's all about getting good runs together, and we've got that at the moment. So hopefully we can carry that on. But we've got good thing about our team. We've got goals in our team. We always look like we're going to score. So yeah, I think we'll be all right. We'll see. It's early days, but again, we've got goals in the team, so that's important.
Hopefully, like I said, we get to complete the season, even if it's not as how we want it to be, and see sort of sort of playoffs and that type of thing. Because I think the last thing you want as a player is to work for those 20, 30 games, and then for something sort of say, "Now, mate, this achievement you've got if you're, I don't know, top 6 or something like that. No, you're not having it. We'll cancel it." Is that in your mind a bit that you sort of knowing, oh, the government could make a decision, we're stopping sport, and so that might stop you from, or does that make you sort of work harder?
I think every player would admit we all missed it when we weren't playing. I didn't know what to do with myself, to be honest. You used to get preparing for the whole week to play on a Saturday. That's what we live for. We live for them nerves, the moments, the highs, the lows. So it weren't a very good time, to be honest, in lockdown. It was, let's say, people are a lot worse off than us. So yeah, no, it was difficult, but people are a lot worse off than me and yourself.
That's the thing I think as members also. There's always there's always someone better off, there's always someone worse off, and like I said, you could have been a lot worse off, but you're still obviously going to be a bit annoyed. You obviously want things to go smoothly, but if they make that decision, then it's not much you can do really. But just hopefully about this season, trying to do something that's a bit more normal, to sort of complete some kind of season, and if it means, it's the thing about the whole thing about sort of people, or you've got to isolate for 14 days. It's not much different from how football's normally done, where it's very common. Oh, this lad's out for 2 or 3 games because he's had just taking a precaution on him. So it's not much different for footballers because you're quite used to it. Whereas with real people in work, oh, you're not in work for 14 days. It's a bit unusual for them. So that's I guess something that sort of footballers have that they're sort of used to it anyway, where they can't play for a bit. So like I said, so at Maidenhead obviously now, and but future obviously you're still young, you're not 40. What would you say you've played League One?
Yeah,
and you played National League and stuff like that. Sort of, was it theoretically possible for you to go right to the top? Obviously, although unlikely. But what do you think is a realistic sort of best case scenario where the stars align, everything goes right? You at that sort of top 1% of you. What do you think is sort of realistic for sort of the future for you to, sort of a league that you think you could play in?
I can carry on playing the way I'm playing in as a centre mid, and obviously I'm versatile as well. I'd like to think I can. I just want to get back in the league in the future. That's with Maidenhead, brilliant. If not, everyone in the National League wants to get back in the league or strive to play as high as they can. No, I don't want to say, oh, I'm good enough for this league, because at the moment I'm not, because I'm not playing in that league.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that about myself. However, I am ambitious. I want to do well again, and I feel the past 2 seasons have put me in the right direction to progress. But yeah, no, we'll see.
And you said there, sort of the line of the league is sort of viewed as this is League Two, the Football League, and I must say, and it's changed a lot from years ago. But the National League is very much, even though while I think most of the teams are professional, I think it is still technically classed as a semi-pro league because of because it's not classed as being league, but it is basically a professional league at this point with the amount of teams there are, even though there might be a few that aren't.
No, I think it is classed as a professional league. I think
is it?
Yeah, it is classed as a professional league. Yeah, no, it is. The only teams that I think are part-time are Maidenhead and Woking. I think everyone else is full-time. Might be incorrect, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think it's just us two really. I think everyone else is full time. So again, every win that we win, we're punching above our weight because we go to work. People are studying. We've got players working 9 till 5 and then coming into training. So we've got to give an extra 10% because obviously people work on Fridays, where other teams are training and match prepping on a Friday, whereas we're working. So it's a challenge for ourselves, but it's a challenge. Last year, Woking done it really well, and this year we've started off pretty well. So hopefully, not may it continue.
I guess that's sort of a bit of motivation for some of them where if they do have these other jobs or something that gives them a bit of extra motivation to do a bit better so they don't have to have those other jobs and they can put their 100% into football and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You had a bit of a sort of international career, if I'm correct. Not sort of fully, but sort of youth team type of thing.
Yeah, under 21s, yeah.
Yeah, and would that be through your granddad, would it be right? That you qualified.
My dad represented Ireland under 19s or 21s, and my granddad and nana from Ireland. So yeah, that's how I can play for Ireland.
Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of people qualifying for all sorts. I think there's James McEwen at Grimsby. I think he qualifies for something like born in England, Republic of Ireland, and something like Spain, Italy, and San Marino. Because he's got these like crazy with his granddads and stuff like that, or something like that. And I think he was trying to get to play for San Marino, but he couldn't find a birth certificate for his granddad or something like that. So that's quite common around here with people born in England but they've got an Irish granddad because it's quite common. So it's quite quite common and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So even though you obviously didn't make first team for them, you still enjoy that sort of getting some sort of experience of having sort of a bit of adventure, I imagine, going to sort of playing against these other teams.
I was very proud of playing for Ireland under 21s. It was a very proud moment for me, really. I think we done all right as well. We were unlucky not to qualify. We played against best players in the world, and it's just it was a brilliant experience.
And it scored a goal, if I'm right.
Yeah, scored the winning goal against Azerbaijan.
Yeah. What's that? I imagine because you get this sort of playing against in the league and stuff, and I get that a youth team. But what is it like sort of playing against some of these players who you probably wouldn't have heard of? You get prepped on them somewhat by your managers and coaches and stuff like that to some extent. But what is it like against, like I said, Azerbaijan, that miles away, and these different players, different sort of culture, different sort of thing, and you're playing against them for those 90 minutes, sometimes in a bit of a different stadium, where they might have flares going off or something like that. I don't know. What's that like with that sort of? Listen, it's not first team international football, which obviously anyone would want to at any level. Yeah. But still, for youth football, you still get some of that experience.
Yeah, it's the best players in that country at that age group. So you're going to be up against some serious talent. I remember playing Norway and Martin Odegaard was playing. He was just ridiculously good. I was like, bloody hell, this guy's frightening. So you come up against some serious boys. Like I remember we played Germany. They were just on another level. I think the first game got smashed. The second game we lost 2-0. It was 1-0 at half time, and they're kicking off because they're only beaten and they're only winning 1-0. I was like, bloody hell, these lot of machines. It's like they didn't get tired as well. They're literally like the Iron Man. So there's some serious talent, and it was even whilst you're playing, you're like, bloody hell, this is hard. Afterwards, you appreciate how good they are.
Yeah, it's also a chance to sort of prove yourself against, like I said, Odegaard, who I think he's been sort of touted as the next big thing since he was about 15, 16. I think he's like 21, 22 now, and I think he's played a bit in La Liga and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
he's frightening.
Well, you are playing against some of these players who are a bit different, some much better, some much worse, and a bit of a different. It's nice to get imagine to play against something that's a bit different to sort of, compared to just playing in England.
It's not. I'd say it's probably no, not really, because it's again, you're there to do a job. You're there to win a game of football. There's pressure on you again, so you don't really think of it as a break or different experience. Afterwards, looking back at it, you're like, yeah, that was a proud moment. That was a great experience. But at the time, you don't really think like that.
Then we're going to move on to sort of, not about your career, but just sort of general, sort of not silly questions. One of them we always ask is best player you've played with and not me on the same team and against. I imagine, I'm going to have a guess. Would that be Erdegaard, I imagine? Or would there someone else we've not seen? So best player you played against?
It sounds funny, but the best player I played against, him talent-wise probably, but the hardest player I played against is Danny Horton at Luton. He destroyed me. He destroyed me. He was so good that day. So
yeah. I would ask worse, but I don't want you to sort of call anyone out or sort of start any beef or anything like that. So we'll leave that one. Best stadium you've played in?
I'm not going to count the reserve games like the under-23s because there's no crowds. So the best stadium I've played at with a crowd would be Portsmouth.
Which always...
Portsmouth or Notts County. Probably, Portsmouth.
Portsmouth. I'd probably say that as well out of those two because big stadium and they've got the guy
with the bell.
Sort of, you always hear that on the island. If your team ever plays Portsmouth, you hear that bell and it's like, I can't imagine having something like that. I mean, you used to sort of having a fan who's a bit different, pulling the top off or something like that, but a bell, I couldn't do that for 90 minutes. Which I, need an hearing aid at 30. But still, Notts County as well. Still, I mean, they shouldn't really be where they are now. But they've got, like I said, another club with problems and stuff like that, which is quite a common theme. They probably should be League One, League Two, but sadly for their fans, the sort of circumstances have dictated they're now National League. And I think because they had to pull out of the FA Cup or something like that, I think this is the first time ever that they've not played in the FA Cup first round or something like that, because of how historic they are.
We played them the other week, and they had a few players out during COVID, so that's why I think they won in the FA Cup. I think it was something to do with coronavirus.
Yeah, which we've seen a lot of. Because I think the rule is something you get free players. You should know this, obviously. Free players who get a test back or something, and then you have to call a game off. Is it something like that, or is it?
Yeah, I think they had 2 players that had it. Something like that. I'm not too sure, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, it's one of them. But once it happens to you, then there was someone filling out a form saying, right, you can't play or something like that. That's what you've got to worry about. Yeah. Said best stadium, worst stadium you've played at, and again, not to sort of throw shade at clubs or something like that, but
worst stadium. Sorry, but Chorley,
yeah.
That place.
They got relegated last season, I think, wasn't it? They were your league last season. I've had quite a few sort of names, lower league stuff like that. What the other ones? Was the best player you played with? Obviously, I said against you, but on your team.
Interesting. The best player I played with, Tyler Roberts.
What was he like?
Just good at everything, really.
Good at everything.
Yeah, no, just hopefully we play well for them and pick up a good number of points. Just give everything. I'm sure the way we play, we cover every blade of grass. So I'm sure we'll carry on to give everything, and just hopefully they enjoy the season, really.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll just say thanks for coming on, taking your time out about an hour to have a chat with us. And hopefully, I mean, I explained to you before why I sort of did this, but sort of reason why we're doing this is just to explain it to everyone. We're trying to give a bit of sort of coverage to National League because it doesn't always get the attention it deserves, and that's the same as what James is doing for D3D4, obviously with League 1 and League 2, and that's all we're trying to do. So we've got 2 other ones out. First one was Jeff King, second one Elliot Javel, so we'll leave them. That you can go and have a watch, and anyone else watching this, and that's all it's about, just trying to support and sort of give a bit of coverage and stuff like that. So thanks for coming on. Maybe have a chat in a year if Maidenhead have gone up. Have a chat about this season.
Yeah, anytime, mate. Just drop me a message.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on, and like I said, anyone watching this, go and have a watch of the other ones. I think I think even if you're not a fan of the team, I still quite enjoy watching them because you learn about the league and learn about some of the other players.
Yeah,
But yeah,
cool.
thanks for coming on, mate, and taking time out.
No problem. Thank you very much.